Happy almost New Year. Wow, 2022 has gone by so fast. If you're like me, you blinked and it was over. And now it's time for New Year's resolutions. Well, let me ask you, are you making New Year's resolutions? About 2 in 5 Americans are. About 1 in 8 are making financial resolutions. And I want to talk about that with you today. About 1 in 2 people are making resolutions for exercising more. Well, sad to say that about 1 in 4 people give up their resolution after the first week, and about 1 in 10 are actually fulfilling their resolution, or at least something close, throughout the entire year. But in 2023, I want you to take the bull by the horns, and I want you to take action. So instead of New Year's resolutions that are just easily tossed aside, I want you considering goals, strategies, just practical, simple things to improve yourself financially so that you can experience financial freedom.
Investing Secrets with Kevin Attride.
We're going to talk about 10 suggestions, strategies, practical things that you can do to begin taking action to have a more successful 2023. The first of the 10 is Ikigai. Yes, Ikigai. That is really the Japanese word that translates something into the purpose for your life. Do you understand that people with purpose in their life are far more successful, they're happier, and they enjoy life? And so I want to tell you a story about someone who had tremendous Ikigai. He was actually sold to be a slave by his brothers. He ended up in Egypt. And despite living a hard life, he rose up to being the chief person overseeing the estate of someone high up in the government. And he gave this man great success. And while he was still a slave, or maybe you could consider him a servant, he rendered great success in his life and for the man he owned. But then he toppled and something absolutely terrible happened to him being accused of a heinous crime he never committed. He ended up in jail. But despite going to jail, this Ikigai, this purpose for his life, kept him going. And in jail, he rose to being the person who oversaw all the prisoners. And then one day, the king of the country calls him in, and he helps the king solve an amazingly incredible issue that saved the country for decades to come. This story may seem far-fetched, but it's the real story of a man named Joseph. And you can find it in scripture. Joseph had Ikigai. The purpose of his life was to serve God and to serve others with integrity and purpose in his life. So what's your Ikigai? Next, I want to talk about who you surround yourself with. John Rohn famously said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I want to ask you, who are you spending time with? Are they people who elevate you, or are they people who pull you down? And you see, those who are successful in life, they're surrounded, they're impacted by successful people they spend time with often. And people who are unsuccessful, well, you often see them hanging around with people who are not successful, who are not intentional. And a negative environment is really powerful, it's impactful, and it drags one down. And also a positive environment, one filled with success, positive thinking, and a mindset that says, I can accomplish any goal I set my mind to, is really powerful. I also want you to think about, can you surround yourself with people, at least one person who gives great feedback, who is not just saying, oh, you did great, you're awesome, but someone who's going to say, you know what? You're great, and here's something that could have made you better. Here's something where I see that you're falling down. Fix this area in your life, and you're going to be of greater success. Number 3 is, how can you learn more? I want you thinking about how can you read more books, and whether you're reading them, whether you're listening to them, I want you to learn more, by reading more. And I have just a few suggestions. You probably heard these before, but here are a few suggestions. The first is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It really made a tremendous impact in my life, and I think it's going to make a tremendous impact in your life. Next is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon outlines the habits and the success factors of many successful and wealthy individuals. I'm sure you'll pick up some really good nuggets. Next is Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've listened to this many times over the years, and it always draws me back to say, how do I have better habits on a daily basis? Also, especially if you're interested in exploring real estate or getting better at it, Ken McElroy's book, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing, is really powerful, and even experienced real estate investors can learn something from that book. I also want you to consider Tom Wheelwright's Tax-Free Wealth. Tom is perhaps one of the foremost tax advisors and strategists of all time, and he outlines some incredible things that can help save you money. So learn more and read more books. Next is I want you to improve your financial management. And we've talked about this in a past episode, and I'll say it again. I want you to focus on give, invest, pay, spend. Give, invest, pay, spend. In that order, giving to others first, investing in yourself next, paying your bills third, and then spending your residual income lastly. The next is emergency funds. And I've talked about this before as well. You need to make sure that you have 6 months of your bills. 6 months at least, because you never know when you might experience a job loss, or just wrecking your car, or a storm that was unexpected that came through and destroyed some of your property or caused other issues. You never know when the unexpected is around the corner, but there is going to be something around the corner that you don't expect, whether it be large or small. So have an emergency fund, and you also should consider healthy reserves for your investments. The next is protecting your assets. And first, I want to talk about protecting the asset of you. Are you spending time thinking about your spiritual health, your physical health, and your emotional health? So I want you thinking about your health and what you can do. The corollary is life insurance. And how are you protecting your family? And maybe you have great income coming in, and it doesn't matter if you were to pass away or to become disabled. But for the vast majority of people, that is not the case. And I just know someone, and my heart breaks for her. Her husband recently died, and she's in a bad state financially because of her husband's death. Life insurance is of great importance to protect yourself from that unexpected. Disability insurance, especially if your family isn't protected, because many times people don't just die, they become disabled. So think about life insurance and disability insurance. And on the topic of insurance, you want to make sure that you're well insured. You want to make sure that you're well insured for your house, for your cars, and you have an umbrella policy. We're going to have some upcoming episodes talking a little bit more about insurance and the importance of it. You need to think about how you're well insured. And I'm not saying taking out huge policies, but you want to work with an insurance agent who understands your assets, your estate, and how to best protect yourself from creditors. And speaking of creditors, it's people who have money who are the largest targets of lawsuits. And so people don't come after you with frivolous lawsuits when you have nothing. When you've had great success, that's when people are more likely to come after you. And so think about how you protect your assets legally. Next, I want to talk about how you can maximize your savings and your interest rate, how you can compound your money faster. Right now, the average commercial bank is only offering 1%, maybe 2% maybe slightly higher depending on how bad inflation gets and how high the Fed raises their federal funds rate. But it pales compared with the inflation rate. And so how are you going to maximize your savings? Because you need money sitting by, whether that's money for investments, having dry powder to invest in things, whether that's your emergency fund, whether you're saving up for something that's just a few months away, you need to maximize your savings rate. And putting your money in a commercial bank so often is not helpful because you're losing money faster because of inflation faster than you grow it. And you also pay taxes on that money. So I want you to consider private banking. It's also known as the infinite banking concept. And you can see me afterwards or write a question below if you want to hear more details. But private banking is a way that you can significantly accelerate your savings and compound your interests at a far faster rate.
The wealthiest Americans utilize private banking. I recommend the experts at Living Wealth when you're ready to implement this strategy.
Next is debt. You often hear gurus saying, pay down your debt, you don't want to be in debt. And they're right and they're wrong. It's actually more complicated. If you have credit card debt, then that's probably the worst debt you could have. But if you have debt on your house, a mortgage, that may not be the worst debt. And if you want to pay off your house and be more conservative, I completely understand. And there are times in which I completely agree, but also having the maximum amount of debt on your house fixed at a very low interest rate when inflation is around 15% in the real inflation rate, it's really helpful to be able to use fixed rate debt at that level and then use those funds, whether you want to hold it in gold to make sure that it's inflation protected, or whether you need it in cash for deploying to investments, whatever that may be, you want to have the right strategy at hand. But don't just say, I'm going to pay off all my debt.
If you don't know where to start investing in real estate, I recommend Norada Real Estate Investments. Their counselors are impactful.
You may have student loan debt, and maybe President Biden's going to forgive it, maybe he's not. Certain debt you want to pay off, certain debt maybe you don't want to pay off. What if you actually have a better rate of return? What if you can make a rate of return at 18% and you have debt sitting at 4%? I'd much rather put all my dollars to maximizing that 14% as long as it can be sustained over a certain period of time than paying off that 4%, as long as you have healthy reserves. I also want you to consider when you have investments, when you have something like a piece of real estate and you're treating it like a business, you can have debt as long as you have healthy reserves and know how to pay it off, and inflation is eroding away that debt. So debt is something for you to be cautious of, but not always pay off. Next is being the contrarian investor. Yes, you heard me, and maybe you don't know that term, but I'm sure you've heard buy low, sell high. And yet so few people are actually doing that. People get into the craze of everyone is buying, and then all of a sudden everyone pulls away and you're left holding all the cards. I want you thinking about how you can be the contrarian investor and buying things when they are cheap and selling things when things feel like they're overinflated and possibly when everyone is telling you should do it. The person who is not educated but saying, oh, I invested in this. Maybe it's time to get out of that when those who have no education in it, no research, no understanding are saying, I'm investing in it. So be the contrarian investor, buy low and sell high. And number 10 is actually kind of a mixed bag of strategies I throw, but it's really about investing in general. I want you thinking about how you can invest in assets that produce monthly passive income. So often people are talking about retirement, and whether that's 5 years away, 50 years away, people say throw all your money into this nest egg and then you'll get it when you retire. Well, I've heard of so many people who go to retire and they don't actually have enough money. Think about how you can invest in strategies for passive income and monthly or quarterly, if possible, to ensure that you can further your investments. And whether you're doing that by real estate, a business, or certain stocks, get passive income.
When the dollar isn't buying what it used to, I recommend McAlvany ICA for your gold and silver IRA or private collection to hold value for decades.
So reduce your biggest bill in life, taxes. I'm sure if you're like me, it's the largest expense I have. And for you, I'm sure that you would like to keep more of the money that you're giving to Uncle Sam. And there are so many strategies that you can leverage using real estate, businesses to reduce personal expenses, or just simply charitable giving. There are so many things you can do to reduce your tax bill. Next, and closely associated with that, as we think about investments, is the return on investment. And so few people are actually using an analysis to say, here's what I think I'm going to get out of my investment. So often stockbrokers just say, well, this is the return you get. So make sure you're using an analysis to ensure that you maximize your returns. And you also need to risk adjust them. Ensure that you know what you're getting into. You can hear an investor saying, I made 50% on this stock or this crypto. Well, next month, loses 50%. Make sure that you're risk adjusting. Also, and you so often don't even hear about this, look at your inflation adjusted return. When the real rate of inflation is about 15%, you need to think about what are you investing in that provides the right inflation adjusted return. And think about your tax adjusted return. Not all investment types are created equally. There are a number of asset types and investments that are tax advantaged. The government actually incentivizes you to invest in certain things. So think about the return on investment, your analysis, your risk adjusted return, your inflation adjusted return, and your tax adjusted return. And as we're talking about various investments and asset classes, I want you to focus on what do you enjoy. Don't do stocks and bonds. Don't invest in them if you don't enjoy them. Don't invest in a business if you don't enjoy it. Don't invest in real estate or crypto. Make sure that you're investing in asset classes that you understand, or that at least you understand enough to have some mentors or people to help you understand it, and that you enjoy investing in. Don't just invest in something because I'm suggesting it, or your friend or neighbor suggests it. Invest in something that you like and that you can be good in so that you feel great when you get the returns that you're seeking. So those are the 10 strategies, the 10 suggestions, the 10 practical things I want you thinking about as we start 2023. But there's actually one more thing, but you're going to have to wait till next episode to get the next one thing that perhaps is the most important thing for you to focus on. And if you'd like more help in your investing strategy, how you can dig deeper and be more successful in 2023, I want you to join my Wealth Accelerator Masterclass. It's like watching over my shoulder as I coach high net worth individuals and the team members that teach along with me to have greater success in your investments to ensure that you're more successful in everything that you do. I want you to take action because it's currently on sale for a very low price, only for a few more days. Take action, click the link below, and join me for my Wealth Accelerator Masterclass because it's time for you to experience financial freedom.
The information contained in this episode are opinions not to be used as individual guidance. As always, consult your own financial team for your investment decisions.